Thank you all for coming. It's an exciting time, book launching, so many friends here, and I really appreciate you coming out and supporting me and listening to some of these things I have to say. So it's a fun time, great venue, Capital Factory. I love being a part of Capital Factory, and it's really about entrepreneurship and how I write the book and how I speak and when I talk about these things is really from the perspective of the entrepreneur. So I'll get started. I'm going to go through this, not going to be that long, and then love to answer questions, and then we'll talk some more and drink some more and hang out, which is always good. So Sumo Advantage, and when I talk about this, I ask the question. I open things up with saying, how do you grow revenue? When you think about how you grow your business, how you're increasing your revenue, how do you do it? And generally, everyone says sales. You got to grow your sales. You got to increase your sales. And that's true. But then I say, well, is it really sustainable? Is that a sustainable way of growing your business? When you have to grow revenue, when you have to increase your revenue, continue to grow and grow and grow, is it just about growing sales? Because if you think about sales, if there's attrition, you got to make up those sales, and then you still have to add more in order to increase sales. So it's sustainable, but it's hard to do. What's the X factor to that sale? You're putting a lot of effort to getting that customer. And then, does that sale impact the market? We all want the market to converge on us. That's a big strategy. It's a big point that we go after. And just getting the next sale doesn't mean that now we're going to move from a push product to a pull product. And we all love to be a pull product, because then the market is coming to us. So it helps, but it just doesn't. It's not necessarily just sales alone doesn't get you there. There's this other piece that I think that companies need to work on. And so we're going to talk about the Sumo Advantage, and I'd like to start off by talking about the difference between sales and business development, because this topic and what I do is really biz dev. I call it BD biz dev, and it's such a catch-all for so many things. If you ask someone, what is biz dev? All these questions, I look on the blogs all the time. Is it sales? Is it corp dev? Is it marketing? Where does it fit? And I know where it fits. I've sort of figured out where I want it to fit, and I want to define it, because if you can define it and not have it possibly be in sales or be in marketing, then you can really execute on it quite well. And when it's not truly defined, then I found, working with other companies, that you get sort of lackluster results. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't work. If it works okay, but not really great, and you don't get the big bang that you're looking for. So, in terms of defining sales, or defining BD, and I look at sales, and I like to boil it down in terms of the conversation to paper cups, because it's just easy to understand. I'm not trying to simplify that all salespeople, it's very easy, it's about selling paper cups. It's just a way to boil it down. Sales is very difficult. It's not an easy, in no way am I saying it's an easy goal, increase your sales. You have to find the right people, but it's a way to boil it down. Paper cups is very easy to understand, and it is a numbers game with sales. You want to sell paper cups, you want to sell more paper cups, and then you want to continue to sell more paper cups. But the thing is, with sales, you understand what a paper cup is. I know if I'm going to buy paper cups, I know what it does already. I know it's a container, it holds beverage, hot, cold, whatever, it has a lid, and therefore it's very easy to understand paper cups. Paper cups, telephony equipment, toilet paper, whatever it is, you sort of understand already what it's going to do, versus business development. And BD is around pitching vision. It's not about something that's tangible, it's not about something that they already understand. In many cases, it's something that could be. It's not a today. It's something that could be if all these things happen. If we decide that we can change the world in this way. So it's not a concrete product, it's not a concrete understanding of what you're talking about. It is about vision. And so when you're understanding that, then I've identified there are 4 distinctions between sales and BD. And it's good if you understand them, then it's easy to identify, am I doing something with sales? Or am I doing something on the BD side? And if it is on the BD side, then I need to use different tactics. Because really that is the difference. If you're using sales tactics, sales methodology, on what I define as a business development deal, it's not going to work well. For a whole variety of reasons, we're going to go through them in these 4 distinctions. So when I ask people, hey, what is the difference between sales and BD? Well, they may come up with the first one. Hey, it's strategic. BD is generally strategic. So some strategic aspect to the deal. And that's true. This is the first distinction. It is strategic. There's really nothing strategic about selling. There's nothing strategic about someone buying your paper cups. Buying cups. It's very, very simple. The transaction exists, but not in the case of BD. So it's strategic. Second difference, there's no direct revenue. So in a sales transaction, which is the definition of sales, assets change hands. I give you paper cups, and you give me money. Whatever it is that you're selling. Transaction, insertion order, invoice, whatever it may be, we're signing something. I am going to send you my product, service, whatever, fulfill on the obligation, and you are going to transfer me another asset, which is money. In the BD deal, no money ever changes hands. The contract that you work on for 3, 4, 5, 6 months, all it is a framework for how these two companies are going to work together in the future. Nothing happens. Even if a little bit of money changes hands, let's say there's some capital cost, asset purchase, whatever, that you just need to help them out with because you're creating this deal and you want to help out with some risk. It's insignificant relative to the size of the opportunity. So still, the relationship isn't governed by money. Where in sales, you have your customer and they want more paper cups. Okay, let me send you a new invoice. You're going to pay me money, I'll send you those paper cups. That's what governs the relationship. The obligations you have to deliver on whatever product you're giving, and the obligation for them to pay for it. Doesn't happen. It's a very, very different way of managing a relationship. The strategic partner that you're trying to get, this biz dev deal, is very different than the sales deal, and really defined by this. There is no direct revenue between the two. If there's direct revenue, they're paying you money, it is a sales deal. Treat it that way. 3, everyone's plate is full. We are all super busy. And what I say is, if you're selling paper cups, what you are selling is on their plate. Okay, if you're selling paper cups to a coffee shop, someone is paid to buy paper cups. It's their job. If they don't buy paper cups, they get fired. So there's an obligation. And they have, you know they're going to buy paper cups. The only question, if you're selling cups, and again, I'm using cups as an example, just to boil things down, is whether they're going to buy from you. They're going to buy. Are they going to buy from you, or are they going to buy from somebody else? In business development, what you're pitching, this vision, is not on their plate. It's not there. No one is assigned to this project. They are not thinking about what you're talking about. Because you're talking about, hey, the two of us coming together, investing resources, no money is changing hands, and then if everything works out well, all this great stuff is going to happen. A lot of risk associated with it, but for sure, no one is assigned to just work on what you are pitching as a visionary deal. So that's 3. 4, this is the big one. The first 3 were really, I sort of look at as factual. And if you understand, if you know those first 3, then you look at this one, which is more behavioral. And we know sales is all about getting to a yes. Focus on the yes. ABC, always be closing, get to the yes. In BD, it's about focusing on not getting a no. This is truly what I have found to be, and I've done a lot of deals over the years, the difference, this defining moment. You cannot use sales tactics, a sales methodology, to close a strategic deal when there's no indirect revenue, no one's in charge of it, because it's very easy to say no. We're all so busy, it's just we're all processing and filtering and trying to get to, if I have to do this, how do I get to the yes? But if I don't have to do it, I just want to push it off my plate. I don't want it on my plate at all. It's not on my plate, it's not assigned to my plate, I don't want it. So you focus on not getting a no, because you're never going to get a yes out of the gate. It's impossible, you can't speed it up. And so I use an example, let's say someone who wants to jump off a building. Okay, they're jumping off the building, the negotiator comes in, and it doesn't come in and say, hey, it doesn't go for the yes, hey, asshole, jump off, get off the building right now. Come on down. What are you trying to do? You're trying to mess up? He just can't go for that. If he goes for that and he gets a no, the person jumps off the building and he's dead. And then the negotiator didn't do a great job. It is really about building a rapport, understanding the pain points, and focusing on not getting the no. Because if he gets the no, the guy's jumping. So he starts working the relationship. He starts understanding what's going on. Oh, he starts trying to bond with them. You have 3 kids? I have 3 kids. Yeah, you know what, my wife said that last week too. Whatever it may be that they're trying to find common ground on. And at some point, same thing with the BD deal. At some point, there'll be this shift, this inflection point, and you then know you can go for the yes. Takes a while to get there. But the negotiator at some point will say, when he feels that's happening, and that the bond is occurring, and this person understands that it's not risky to communicate with the negotiator, take a flyer with the negotiator, like go on and do the things that the negotiator wants to do. If it's not as risky, then he'll go and do it. At some point, he says, all right, why don't you come on down, get off the ledge, come on down, let's go get a cup of coffee, let's talk about this. And at that point, the person gets off the ledge. Very, very, very different. You can't go for the close. It's the same thing in BD. It's so easy to say no. And the reason why it's so easy to say no is because everyone's plate is full. There's no immediate revenue. There's no immediate savings. Definitely is going to require additional resources, which no one wants to allocate at this point. They're not going to get fired for saying no. This is the big thing. No one's going to get fired for saying no in something where you're pitching something that's not on their plate. They're going to get fired for not procuring paper cups, but they're not going to get fired for saying a no to something like this. It's not on their boss's plate. It's not on their boss's plate, so it's not important. That's why we need to pitch it in a certain way. It's certainly not going to help with their bonus. So there's all these negatives. You can't go for the yes yet because it's so easy to get a no. It's really about this evangelic pitch, this conviction that we all have to say, this can happen. I can part the Red Sea if we work together. And it's over time, you're building the rapport, and you're focusing on not getting there. You're keeping them intrigued just enough to where they will stay with you and stay interested. But you can't give them enough information for them to say, okay, I found the piece where now I can say no. It won't work. So focus on not getting a no. It's not about getting a yes. So, I draw this thing I call the Sumo Advantage. And I use this as an example because I love the idea of the sumo. The sumo is a warrior contestant who wants to beat his opponent in the ring. Advantage, we all want an advantage, and I don't know if you all have heard of Joe Lonsdale, just this guy out of Northern California, built some big companies, billionaire, young guy, and he loves investing in companies that have an unfair advantage. He looks for it. Do you have an unfair advantage or not? If you don't, I'm not interested in investing in you. So we're all looking for that advantage. And the Sumo Advantage is that. It's gaining that unfair advantage that you have in the market. So let's use TrueCar as an example. So I'm one of the founders of TrueCar. We've been around for 8.5, 9 years, and we're in the automotive space trying to create transparency and create a better way to buy a car. And there's 30-something thousand dealers out there in the market and we all know what it's like to buy a car. No one loves it. So we're here to disrupt the space and try and create a better way. So if you think about, the thing I want to point out when it comes to BD is actually there to help sales. It's there to help your sales team do their job faster, overcome objections, give them more credibility, whatever it may be. This actually is here to help support sales, but it's a different path. So if you think about us going out to market, we're launching. TrueCar's launching, TrueCar.com. And we have our sales force out there selling to dealers, and they knock on a dealer's door, which 500 companies are knocking on the dealer's door every day, and says, hey, listen, we have this new idea. We want to insert transparency in the process that you don't want transparency in. We're going to show what everyone else paid on the car. We want your data to do that, and then we want you to give them an upfront price before you ever know their name and before they ever walk in your dealership. So you can take that price anytime. And by the way, you don't do this now. Your whole industry doesn't do this. And we launched the site, TrueCar.com. What do you think the dealer's going to say outside of, get the hell out of my dealership? If you can get past that, then it's, hey, then the other more reasonable questions will come up. How many visitors do you have? Well, we don't have any visitors, because we need dealers, and we need dealers to do this before we can get the visitors. And he said, well, you know what, call me when you have X millions of visitors, and then I'll think about coming online. Or, hey, what's the quality of your traffic? Well, I don't know, we don't have any traffic yet, but we hope it's going to be good quality. Great, call me after you know the quality of the traffic that potentially you're going to get at some point. So the sales team is going to have a very hard time. So we didn't launch this way. We launched TrueCar.com, our own branded site, years after we launched our original solution, which was referred to as ZAG. So we chose a business development strategy to launch and to deal with our growth, because we knew we weren't going to overcome this with just launching a site, and in that industry, no one does. So we went and we partnered with all these different companies. USAA, American Express, Consumer Reports. These are all big brands. And so now think about it. You have a partnership, and USA was really our first big one. I don't know if you're all familiar with USA, but it's an incredible organization focusing on the military and their families for financial products. Very loyal, rated the #1 customer brand in the US. Just amazing, 10 million members. So now think about, so the BD effort is, let's go out and get these brands. And so now think about the sales guy that we talked about earlier at TrueCar. Now he's knocking on the dealer's door, and he's saying, hey, listen, Mr. Dealer, and let's just imagine you're in a military town where there's a military base, and all these guys absolutely know who USAA is. And he says, hey, do you want to be a part of the USAA car buying service and be a USA certified dealer? Dealer says, absolutely, definitely, sign me up now. There's never a question around, well, how many visitors do you have? Because at the time, we had no visitors. We didn't have a website. We had the contract with USAA, and we had nothing else. But now we can, because it's the chicken and egg issue. You need the dealers to get the members, visitors, and you need the visitors to get the dealers. But at this stage, we had the promise of these specific visitors, members that were super qualified, that every dealer wants to be part of. And without having them and having a website built, we were able to now sign thousands of dealers online. And at that point, we were building the website and then deploying it across USAA. So that's how we approached it. And now we're USA, and we're Consumer Reports, and we're American Express. And so it's very, very, very heavy BD. But that ultimately is what got us through. There's no way we would be around today if we launched our own website without the partner, without leveraging a Sumo to help us. So, and just to give you some example, this is our site for American Express cardholders. You log into American Express and you come over to us. Or Consumer Reports. This is Consumer Reports. This is really us. So we're using their assets to communicate trust with their members who are coming into that brand, now come over to us. We are the car buying source. We're not introducing a new brand. We're not saying, hey, there's an interstitial here where you're going to leave our site and go somewhere else to a different brand. We're partnering in a way where we're going to build something new. And that's the difference. We're saying to Consumer Reports or American Express or USA, you could be in this. You can solve this problem for your members, but you got to be in it all the way. We need these things from you. We need to be able to use your brand. We need to be able to communicate with your customers. So it's a very different way of going about it versus just, hey, give us a link, I'll pay you some money, and we want your members to come to us. So when you think about, so I put up the Sumo, and then on the other side is the sales, where everyone, from a sales standpoint, is generally focusing on landing that 800-pound gorilla, or getting the big fish, the whale, whatever they want to call it, whatever sales book is out there, and there's a ton of great sales books. The problem is the gorilla or the whale, whatever, however you want to refer to it, they lack independent will. It's sheer power. Sure, go land that 800-pound gorilla. It's a great thing for your company, but they're not going to add the value that I believe a Sumo partner adds, because they're just power. They're not going to respond in a way that you need them to when it comes to competing in the market. And they're a gorilla, and then the relationship is also governed by, sure, I'm buying from you, I'm your customer. You better please me, you better do this for me, you better do that for me. So there's a different relationship that happens versus managing a strategic partner. So the gorilla is great from a certain standpoint, and so there's all these great books out there on selling. Get the 800-pound gorilla, big whale, big companies, major accounts, snap selling, spin selling, get into, yes, great, read them all, they're fantastic for selling. And that will get you the pile of cash. And pile of cash is good, of course, I'm not saying it's not good. We all want the pile of cash, but I want a bigger pile of cash. And I want the cash to come in faster. So, when you're thinking about the history of your company. So, in this case, I liken it to the Sumo. The Sumo is very different. The Sumo has exponential power. And the reason why, the Sumo understands basically how to operate a business. They understand controls, they understand how to improve, they understand how to prioritize, they understand strategy. And now you're leveraging off of that as well. The 800-pound gorilla, your big sale that you got, is not going to help you with that. you're there to help them. You're giving them a service. And if you don't do it well, they're taking their pile of cash and they're bringing it somewhere else. Very different. And the Sumo, of course, knows how to compete. And that's what we want. They understand that they can compete in a ring. They want to beat somebody, but they understand the rules of engagement. And that's another thing you want on your side. So partnering with a Sumo versus getting a big whale has very different impact on the business. And you should go for both. But too many times a company is going for the sales, and they're saying, yeah, they're doing BD, but they're using a salesperson to do that. And generally speaking, it's not going to work. So to this point, I talk about this, or refer to this, the Sumo Building a Partnership Program as a BD layer in your organization. And it sits in between product and sales. Because you're building products, and then your sales and marketing team goes out and sells them. So the BD layer comes in and really bolts onto product, because what you want to do is build these partnerships, and you want to have them integrate into your product as deep as you can. It's in your best interest. As I pointed out earlier with Consumer Reports and American Express or USAA, it would stink if you logged into USAA, you clicked the button to come over to a USA car buying service, and then you had to re-enter all your information again when you submitted your information to a dealer. Or whatever you're doing. If you don't have that integration, it's disjointed, it sends the wrong message. And of course, the conversion rates are much higher when you have that integration, but go for the integration. The challenge here is that a partner comes in and you want to do it, and then your COO or your CTO will say, well, what's the ROI on building that out? And that's the wrong question to ask. It's a reasonable question, but not for this solution, because the ROI is zero. There's no money that changes hands. It's all in the hope of doing something in the future. So it's investing now to see what can happen later on. So I'm a huge fan of this BD layer, and I really believe, in my experience, this is what can happen. Without the BD layer, you definitely grow. Your revenue will grow. But your revenue, in the out years, your revenue will be much bigger, leveraging these strategic partners. And this is another key point. In the early days of the relationship, there's no difference. There's no immediate impact on your business. In the out years, it's absolutely different. And I've been with multiple companies, startups, companies that have been around for 10 years, funded, well-funded, not well-funded, and this has worked every time. It's truly a difference between having a strategic partner to leverage their assets and not. And so you should do both. And again, the BD layer helps support sales. So that's the Sumo. And it's really about thinking strategically. So, how do you approach a market? And then you have to ask yourself, why do I partner? Why should I partner? It's a lot of work. It's a lot of effort. This is not some easy thing to do, and it takes resources within your company. But you partner for a variety of reasons. One, you borrow credibility, which is really big. We're sitting here in the Capital Factory. This is a startup world. We don't have a lot of credibility. We have a lot of ideas. We may have some money. We may be executing on it. But we represent high risk to, let's say, a big customer. So you can borrow the credibility of the partner, and that helps provide lower the risk. Chicken and egg, we talked about that already. TrueCar dealt with that. A lot of times we have a chicken and egg issue. We need this, but we need that. We can't get that without this. So sometimes a partnership can solve that problem for you. Differentiation, you're definitely different. If you partner with a big Sumo in the market, you are different from your competitors, and you can leverage that as much as possible. We have TrueCar, we have the best quality in the industry. No question. We're the only ones. Auto Vital, Auto Trader, Kelley Blue Book, they can all do whatever they want. No one has the USA car buying service. No one is American Express. None of those guys are Consumer Reports. We are. We're very different, and we will always remain different to the dealerships. Risk. It definitely helps mitigate risk. Either your own investment, or, as I said, if you're going to a customer, it helps risk with them. But it definitely can help mitigate some risk with you. Rather than invest in something, go partner and use their assets. A better platform for disruption. If you're in space and you're trying to disrupt, you're trying to knock off the 800-pound gorilla in the space that has a lot of market share, it's a lot better to go with a partner and use their assets and their established position in the market to compete. And you're using their assets to compete with your competitor, not with theirs. But if you want to disrupt the market, think about who you can partner with to do that. And then enterprise value. It helps with revenue. Just signing these deals during our process, it could double your valuation. We're all looking for the next round. At some point, we need another round of money. What's the progress you've made? Well, partnering with someone validates what you're doing, says that they're willing to get into the space and work with you, and you're worth them putting resources to. So it can definitely increase your enterprise value, which are all good things. So that's the difference between the sumo and the gorilla. I use them as just points. Again, go after the gorilla, but the gorilla can't deliver the benefits that the sumo has. So let me give you some examples. Groupon. Everyone I'm sure is familiar with Groupon. They went public in 2011. They went out at 25 and their stock went as low as 4, and now I think they're at 10.50 today. And they're going to have a hard time getting back up to 25. It's been a long road just to get back up to 10. So what happened with Groupon? What did they do wrong? So I don't know any information inside of Groupon. This is all from an external perspective of looking at it from what would I do if I worked in that company, and how would I leverage strategic partnerships to grow? Well, we all know with Groupon, before they went public, Google made an offer to buy them for $6 billion, and they said no, right? Which most people thought was crazy. Turns out, maybe they were, because their stock went from 25 to 4, and now they're at 10. It's a hard road. But remember, what Google was saying is, I want to get in this space. I want to be in the flash sale space, and I want to get there fast. There's no barrier to entry. There's other companies in the space, but I want to get here fast, so Groupon, I'm willing to buy in. So Groupon says no. They're not going to partner. They're not going to do that deal. They're going to go it alone. And at that point, Groupon knows, Google is now going to compete with them. There's not too many companies that actually want to compete with Google, right? No one is voluntarily saying, I wish Google would get in my space. Just that it's not part of the vision here. That's exactly what Groupon did. Now, and remember, there's all these other companies. Everyone is getting this. There's zero barrier to entry to getting into this flash sale space. It's probably 500 companies right now that do it. So Groupon did partner with a company. They partnered with Expedia. Okay, I sort of like that deal. I don't think that's the right deal, given that what you know Groupon for is this is about getting free yoga classes and milkshakes or sandwiches at some restaurant, not big purchased travel. So they did the deal because they didn't want to deal with travel, but that's not what they're known for. That's not what their primary business is. So nice deal, okay, but from a strategic impact standpoint, I don't think it's the right deal. So Groupon now is competing with Google and a whole slew of other companies. And to highlight where I think they went wrong, or what I would have done, what we would do using the idea of the Sumo Advantage and the BD strategy is there was a company called Living Social that came up around the same time. You might have heard of that one. So Living Social, Groupon's going out first, Living Social's not yet, and Google's getting in this space. Okay, so what does Living Social do? They think about the market and they say, okay, what am I going to do? Well, they went and partnered with Amazon. So if you know you're going to compete with Google, what's the next company on the list that you think should be on your side if you're going to go compete with Google? It's going to be Amazon. So Living Social in that moment is now as big as Amazon. So if you're going to go up against Google, you have Amazon's power, Amazon's buying power, Amazon's customers, Amazon's integration. As Amazon grows, Living Social is now growing. It's a great deal. It is now differentiated. This is a true differentiation here. When all these other companies are going down to that yoga studio, and at least Living Social can say, do you want to be on Amazon? Yeah, I want to be on Amazon. That's actually good. And it's fully integrated. You click the button and you're buying through Amazon and all your account information's there, but it's really a Living Social. So there's a huge advantage, and that is the difference. That's how I look at it and say, that Living Social sales can grow because Amazon is growing. And that's a huge asset for Living Social. So that's where I believe Groupon went wrong and Living Social went right. Hopefully these deals will work out. Amazon did make an investment in them, so that's great. But that definitely, from a strategic deal standpoint, was the right move. Let's look at another company some of us know here in Capital Factory, Sparefoot. Sparefoot's a great company right here across the street, and a couple of guys are in the audience here. And we all Sparefoot, largest inventory of storage facilities online. Great marketplace business. Very similar to TrueCar. We have a lot of dealers. We have 7,000 dealers. They have a huge amount of storage facilities. Very fragmented business. Very similar in a lot of ways. So SpareFoot's value prop to all of these facilities is, hey, get noticed. We're a marketplace. We're getting customers here. We do a better job of marketing across from an aggregate platform level than you can on an individual level. And so join the marketplace. We want you to do these things, whatever, but join the marketplace. And obviously a lot of them do. And so what's SpareFoot's challenge? What do they need to deliver to grow their business and to make their facilities happy? Their customers. They need traffic. They need good traffic. They need quality traffic. So what did SpareFoot go do? They could just go out and do more SEM, hopefully get some more SEO, do some other marketing maybe or whatever. But what they did is, in addition to that, to help get even more facilities and bring more value prop to them and get more high quality traffic, they did a deal with Penske Truck. So Penske is taking all these inbound phone calls every day for people renting trucks. A lot of them need storage facilities. Penske doesn't have storage facilities. Their biggest competitor, U-Haul, does. U-Haul has trucks, and if you need storage, we can put it right in the storage facility. Penske doesn't have that. This is a great deal. It's a great deal for SpareFoot because they're getting access to high quality traffic. These people are definitely in market. They're laying out money for a truck. And if they need a storage facility, that individual on the phone right there or online can arrange for that right away. It's great for these facilities because they don't have, there's no way they themselves can get access to Penske customers. No way. And for Penske, it changed their dynamic. They're on the phone and now they have a greater solution to the problem that their customers face without having to invest in the facilities like U-Haul does. So this is another great example, a BD example, of where they're focusing on enhancing their business while they're still growing their sales. So I love this, and they're doing other ones as well. And SpareFoot's just a great example of a company building a BD layer. So let's see, these are hard deals to win. They're really hard because remember the Sumo. The problem with the Sumo, he's a lone warrior. Sumo doesn't partner with anybody. Sumo's in the ring by himself, fighting by himself. It's very hard to get these guys, and that's why the 4 distinctions dictate how you're going to close this deal. How are you going to get their attention? How are you going to pitch them this BD vision? Because if you use the sales tactics, a sales methodology, it's not going to work. And every time I see a business card that says this is the VP of Sales and BD, I'm generally dealing with someone who is in sales. It's just that, and most likely their company is treating them like that. Their compensation, their commission structure, their quarterly numbers is all based on that. You cannot get a Sumo focusing on quarterly numbers. So a lot of things have to change in order to make that happen. So there has to be change if you're going to actually do a strategic partnership initiative, there has to be change. There has to be mindset change. You got to think differently about how to go after this market. You got to have a different time schedule for doing it. There has to be a people change. You have to assess, is this person right for BD or not? They may be a sales animal, love sales, but not want to go after BD. Why? Because these deals take a long time. That sales animal may be able to close in 2-3 months. Don't take them off the project. Find someone else who's more suited to that. Or maybe there's a salesperson that's not doing well, but they think strategically, and they'd be better off in the BD side. It's a very, very different way of thinking, but also the way you as a company, as we build our companies and our employees and the infrastructure behind it, how we're going to treat them, how we're going to motivate them, how we're going to structure their relationships with the company, the compensation, the people working for them. There's a whole slew of changes that have to occur. So people change, process change. How you're going to look at the process for doing tech, for building tech integration for other resources you have to take into account. Because they're not going to have the ROI that you're looking for right out of the gate. Definitely 100. I can't stand it when someone comes in and says, "What's the ROI on this?" It's fucking 0. That's it. It's a stupid question. Do you want to have a partnership with USA or not? I do, but I want it to be, cash flow positive immediately. Not going to happen. And and if the company can't get their head around that, that's okay. Then don't go after these deals because it's not going to work. But if you can get your head around it, if you make that mindset shift, these deals will come in. They absolutely can be done. They're very hard to do, but they can be done. And then it's a culture shift. just like what we're talking about. It's not about the ROI. It is about building something bigger if you bring these two companies together. And that's the key thing to focus on. So, Sumo Advantage, and so I've sort of defined this term. It's an entrepreneur's alignment with a major market force, capability or accelerator, with the intent to grow market share and crush the entrepreneur's competition. That's what you want to do. That's what we all want to do. We want to win. We want to beat the competition. And I'm saying leverage a Sumo. Go out and get a strategic partner. UShip is another great example of going out and getting strategic partners. Yes, you can come to the UShip site, but you can also find them where you're transacting in other places. So they've built their distribution around these partnerships, whereas their partners grow, UShip grows. It's another great example. UShip's in the audience right there. So go out and get your Sumo, and I'm telling you, if you apply these things, these tactics, these theories, it will work. Just try it. And that's it. I'd like to say thank you to Holly Self, who's here. She's helping me with all my marketing. Of course, Capital Factory. Peter Winnick is here from Thought Leadership Leverage. Stanley's Farmhouse Pizza for bringing in the beer. And if you haven't been to Stanley's, you got to go to Stanley's. It's a fantastic place to visit for an outdoor pizza venue. It's great. Podcast One, I launch a podcast soon with Podcast One called Extreme Biz Dev. And I want to thank Prezi for helping me build this presentation, doing this for me, and allowing me to use their platform in the way that I have. So thank you all, and thank you all for coming too. I really appreciate it. By the way, books are being sold up here, and all of the proceeds go to the Entrepreneurs Foundation, which is Capital Factory's charity. And so we're all about supporting other entrepreneurs. I'm a big believer in that. And so come up, get a book. I'm happy to sign it. And then you'll also be helping out the entrepreneurs. So appreciate it. And I'm happy to take some questions, but thank you very much for coming. And of course, I have to thank my wife, Allison, too. So, any questions? Yes.
How does my little company get one of these big companies to pay attention to us?
So how does your little company get a big company to pay attention? That's a good question. It's hard to get them interested. But again, when you set it up where you have complete conviction. So depending on what you're pitching them, it's really about demonstrating. So the good thing is, with these big companies, entrepreneurial efforts rarely work, if ever. They're going to fail. This is why they always acquire us at some point, because they just can't do it internally. So what you're doing is, when you're presenting the opportunity, you're telling them this is going to happen, whether you're involved or not. And again, it's all about not getting a no, and there's certain information you give them now, and there's certain information you don't. You can read more of that in the book. But it's intriguing them to say, hey, I am committed to getting this to happen. I'm one of these crazy entrepreneurs that is going to get this done. And I want you on the train with me. But if you don't want to be here, that's fine. I'm going to go right down the block to your competitor. One of you is going to be on this with me. One of you is going to partner with me. I am going to make that happen. That attitude needs to come through all the time. That's part of getting noticed. Then there are other things that you may or may not need to play off of. There's something called triangular attraction, where you may be working with two different sumos that you need to launch your program, and you're using each of them to play off the other to say, well, this one's involved, and that sumo really likes the other sumo that you're working with, and vice versa. So that's a way to get attention, build the credibility, say, listen, I'm already established. I'm working with X. Do you want to be the other partner here? If you don't, I'm happy to go to somebody else. I'm picking you. I want you. And then maybe when you're talking to the other potential partner, you're saying you're already working with this one, or you're about to work with this one, whatever may be truthful in terms of the status that you're at, and you bring them in. But you're showing your job, our job is certainly as entrepreneurs, as a smaller company, is to continually show that this train is moving and that we are getting bigger and bigger every day. And if you're not with us, one of your guys is going to be with us, one of your competitors. Yes?
Leading off from that, what was the hook that got you in a USAA first client?
The hook that got me with USAA. So USAA started, so I hate RFPs, I'm sure everyone hates RFPs. And so they sent an RFP out for technology. They wanted an online tech, what's called a configurator. You pick the year, make, model of a car, just to help with picking insurance. And they were looking at an RFP and how much is it going to cost, and they sent this huge RFP out. And in typical what I do, in all those cases is I never answer the question the way they want the question answered, ever. I answer it so that you want them frustrated, but you want them to start going, holy shit, like, can they really do this? Like, you're answering the question by telling them what things could be. Yes, and if you did X, Y, and Z, or this, ABC happened, then this could be there. And now you're intriguing them. They're like, what is this guy talking about? I'm trying to get some online tech going, and they're saying I could do this. And you get them intrigued enough, and you continue to work you're trying to get through them to where they say, okay, I have to notice you. I have to have this conversation to find out what is going on here, because they're saying something that sounds unbelievable. I'm confused on how it would happen, but it's so intriguing that I need to have the conversation. I need to get the meeting. Because remember, RFPs are all about shifting control away from us and onto the person the company who's issuing the RFP. They want to suck you for all the information you have. They want to make decisions without you in the room. So RFPs are terrible. So when I'm thinking about strategic deals, it's not a sales deal. I never answer an RFP the way they want it answered, ever. And I've never lost an RFP. So it's about intriguing them even through that vehicle if that's what they're issuing. You want to confuse, I talk about confusion a lot. I definitely use confusion to intrigue them. What the hell is he talking about? That's, and then where they have to then get me on the phone again, or they have to get me in the room. So that's how you that was the opening to get them through. Then it's a whole series of things about maintaining control. So how do you maintain control through this process? So one of the things I share is that I never ever release my deck. Never does the presentation go out, ever. Not once have I let it out. And 100% of the time they always ask for it. But you never release it. That's like the biggest mistake you can make in a BD deal. Because again, it's about not getting a no. And if you give them that information, and because what they want is they want to circulate it internally amongst a few people. But who's better to pitch your company than you are? So what you're doing is you're giving up control and you're saying, sure, take my presentation. Go talk to others in a way that I know you're not going to talk the way I am, the way I speak, the evangelic pitch that I do. And then I'll just let it, I'll see what happens. The answer is going to be no as soon as that goes through. So do not give it up, ever. It is really the death of an opportunity. Yeah?
Building on that, you said the ROI was 0 at the beginning, I take it. Were there future revenues coming in from USAA as part of your growing partnership?
Well, yeah, the opportunity with USA or any of the partners that we have is their members come in, we give them this great experience, and then the dealer pays us every time the dealer sells a car. So collectively, we're creating this, let's call it mini ecosystem, to solve a problem for their member.
Not
and
from
then
the partners, though, right?
I'm sorry?
No revenue from the partners.
Sometimes you can share revenues. It really is there to help with marketing. But what you're trying to do with a partner is you're trying to demonstrate that it's nice to be a benefit, but it's much better to be core to their business. And so what you want to do is try and demonstrate that if your members use X, Y, or Z, us, your company, your business is going to grow. Now, you're not going to get them to admit that out of the gate, but over time, that's what you're really working for. If they're a bank and it's important for them to issue auto loans, you're going to demonstrate that for us anyway, how members coming to our solution, for the members who come to our solution, you have as the bank, you have the higher origination rate. You issue loans a lot more than if you let the member go out on their own to the dealership. That's core to their business. They're in the business of issuing auto loans. So if we can prove that using us helps them, now that's golden. So you want to be aligned with a core product, not just a benefit, in our case. But I always say you always have to look at it from a core benefit perspective. Yes, Mr. Price.
Bernie, when you go through this, almost always, because the size of Sumo, it quickly, as they get excited, they quickly get to wanting an exclusive. Ryan's edition, they want everything, they want exclusive. Can you talk to us about that?
Sure. So I've never given up exclusivity. In this case, with TrueCar, we always ask for exclusivity because it doesn't make sense. And I think the issue is what is reasonable, or that's how I approach it. So an exclusivity ask on them is not reasonable. The idea of using TrueCar as an example, if we're a platform play, well, if we give exclusive, then we've just lowered the power of the platform. And so we are now as big. We generate more volume than what any one of those individual partners could actually do. So if we were stuck with just one or two of them, they in fact would have less power to the market through us. So it's not in their best interest. So the exclusivity is more of it's almost like an emotional request. So you deal with it in that way. You try and use logic to demonstrate how it's actually not in their best interest. And then ultimately you just say no, and then they go, okay, they're still going to do the deal anyway. They're not going to walk from exclusivity. That's never been a deal killer. Yeah.
We're going to price on it that's so exorbitant that even if they take it, you go, well, okay.
But why? If it's a...
Yeah, I'm thinking like the spare foot people.
Uh-huh.
Penske.
Yeah.
What if, a Penske competitor said, we'll do it, but we want this?
Yeah, it depends if it hurt their business or not. So if Barefoot or any other company felt that give really wasn't giving much relative to the benefit or the commitment or the other volume, sure. If you're going to give up exclusivity, and I'm not saying it's always the wrong thing to do. In the case where they're asking us, I've generally said no, and I'm generally asking for it. But in what you're saying is that if you can get more integration with that partner, so what are you giving them? If they're getting exclusivity for you, what are you getting? You better get a lot, and then there better be a volume commitment related to maintaining the exclusivity. Because if they lock you up for 3 years and they just can do it and there's no minimum criteria for growth, then you're really screwed. So then it's about the structure of that deal. So sure, there are scenarios where it can work, but if it ultimately is going to hamper the growth of your business long term, I don't think they're ever worth it. Yeah.
Would you say that channel partners are synonymous with these BD type deals?
Which are channel partners synonymous? I would say it depends on the situation, but mostly I say no. Channel partners is still an issue of, so you're talking about like someone who's distributing for you?
Yeah, reselling your service. Or
yeah, to some degree, but if they're not reselling you, they're reselling someone else. It's part of your distribution strategy. You're going to dump them if they're not doing the volume for you. I'm not sure of the strategic relevance to the channel partner. It's a partner. It's someone who is reselling your stuff, but did they impact your business so much that it's such a strategic deal for you? If that's the case, then sure. But in most cases, I don't think that happens. I think that it's generally benchmarked by what revenue you're bringing in this quarter or this 6-month period or whatever, because you need a lot of resources and a lot of support. And if you're not showing traction, I'm dumping you. All these deals are very long-term deals, 3-year minimum. It takes a long time. Sorry?
Channel reports into sales. So there's your
Well, generally speaking, if channel reports, but I'm just saying, but there's somewhere there could be some strategic aspect to it. And in that case, they're not really, money's not changing hands unless there's some other customer in the middle of it, so that's always good. But for the most part, I don't see them as that strategic, much of the time. Any more? Okay.
Speak about how to identify the right sumo for you.
Okay, the right sumo for you. There are a couple of, this is good for maybe the last question. There's a couple of ways to do it, but the shortest or the easiest one to answer is think about how you can get hurt. So if you're having a planning meeting with your team, think about how you're going to get screwed. If company X does a deal with company Y, is that going to hurt you? And if the answer is yes, then you better go do that deal, or assume that deal is going to get done and figure out how you're going to respond to it. But that is, I find when I'm working with other CEOs at times, trying to look at the landscape about what could be done, it's a little harder to do. When you're thinking about how you're going to get screwed or how you're going to lose this business that you're getting today, if this thing happened, seems to be a lot easier to think about. And if that's the case, then that's a deal to go get, or you need to prepare for that deal happening with somebody else. So that's how I look at it. All right, thanks again. There's still more drink and food and books up here. And again, all the proceeds go to the Capital Factory charity, and which is an important cause. Thank you. Appreciate you coming.